Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Susan Linder, your host of the Innovation Storytellers Show, where we try to help chief innovation officers, and everyone has an innovation mandate in their title, to be the best storytellers possible to get their big idea to the finish line. And I have to say, getting some products to the finish line is harder than others, especially when there are maybe 100,000 components in just one of these products, maybe 200,000. I'm talking, of course, about getting a big old jet airliner to its finish line. And I'm excited to have two amazing guests from Airbus joining me today. So let me introduce you to my guests. First, Mina Bastawros is the HO creative and digital marketing expert at Airbus. He leads the charge in transforming and innovating the company's marketing strategies. With over 12 years of experience in the aviation industry, Mina's career at Airbus began in 2011 through a graduate program. And since then, he's ascended through the ranks, including stress engineer, manager, lead supply chain and quality manager, corporate founder, new business development, and strategic marketing director before assuming his current position just 2 years ago. He is multilingual and multicultural, an engineer at heart. Mina is passionate about innovation. We love that. And challenging the status quo. He creates and leads impactful projects and campaigns that resonate with very diverse audiences and stakeholders. Mina is known for his dedication to pushing the boundaries of traditional marketing, integrating cutting-edge technology, and maintaining a focus on inclusivity and diversity in all of his projects. His contributions have earned him recognition, including the Outstanding Intrapreneur Award from the Global Entrepreneurs Institute back in 2022. Not to be outdone, he is joined by his colleague today, Florent Petteni. I hope I'm saying that right, Florent. Can I just call you Flo?
Yeah, you can. Go ahead.
Fantastic. Flo is leading the A220 and the A320 product marketing teams at Airbus. He and his team support sales campaigns around the world for the most successful aircraft product lines. Passionate about aerospace, his career started more than 20 years ago and spans across different civil and defense aerospace groups, Falcon Jet, MBDA, and Airbus. And he has ascended various areas of the business: airworthiness and certification, design office, flight operations, program management, innovation, and now marketing. I'm excited to talk with both of you as a fellow marketer, as a lover of all things aviation, and frankly, someone who's just happy to get on a plane and get wherever I'm going to. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Susan.
Airbus, you are not our first Airbus guests here on the Innovation Storyteller Show. We've been very fortunate to have some real breakthrough leaders come and talk with us about everything that Airbus is doing. And I have a very soft spot in my heart for Airbus because I think among so many of the aviation companies, you really share what's going on the innovation side. And I feel like we have a front row seat to seeing all the cool things you're doing. And you guys are on the marketing front line. So you are the ones who are speaking directly to us, the outside world. So tell us a little bit, Mina and Flo, how did you get to this crazy world of innovation and innovation marketing today?
You want to kick us off?
Well, I can start by explaining a bit the background of how we met actually with Mina. I think that would be
great.
So it was about 7 years ago when Airbus decided to launch a challenge and find all the innovators or people with crazy ideas within Airbus and put them all together. So they sent that challenge around and say, okay, propose the craziest idea that you have ever had and for Airbus to design it. So Mina and
dream as big as possible, pretty much.
Dream big and no limit. And so we both proposed ideas. We were selected, and they put all of us. It's like 150 odd people, I think, from Airbus, I think, and they put all of those people together in a room for 2 days, and they say, first things first, drop your craziest idea, drop it, forget about it. We're not going to talk about it. We're going to put you in groups of 4 to 5 people, and you need to come up with a new,
crazier idea.
Wait, just for the record, how many people wound up in a mental institution after this experiment?
Every single one of us.
There you go. That's what the weekend looked like, right? Just a rubber room with everyone bouncing off of it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So that's how more or less we at least got into that ecosystem of innovators, and like, how do you talk to the wider audience about all the ideas and the creativity you have, and how do you come up and bring people on board with this idea and build momentum. And that's how it more or less all started. So
yeah, and then what happened after this event, it was a 2-day summit. Our idea was very interesting because there was a number of exercises that we had to go through, and these exercises would channel our thinking to get us to a point. And I remember very clearly, we sort of galvanized or like gravitated together towards that same direction of how do we make the aircraft of the future made by the people for the people. We were thinking, do we make it open source? Do we make it designed by anybody in the world, right? And that was really something that touched us quite significantly. We were lucky enough to be selected after the 150 ideas that were, or the candidates that were there. They selected 3 different ideas. So it was 15 people in total, 5 per project. And we were lucky enough to end up spending some time in Silicon Valley. We worked alongside DataStax, Red Hat, Stanford D School, Google. And we were trying to figure out, how do we take this wacky, crazy idea and find a way to deliver it for a company of 150,000 people. We gravitated slightly away from the original concept because we realized the certification will never allow us to do certain things that we had in mind. But then we saw that relying on communities of talents, whether it's for the coding or whether it's for the CADing or whether for the designers out there, would allow us to tap into those networks and quickly get things done that we would not be able to get done in the company. And that's how we figure out that this was the way forward. We came back into the company after spending some time incubating the idea in Airbus's accelerator and incubator, at the time called BizLab, now it's called Airbus Scale. And one of your guests, Christian Lindner, he was leading it at the time. And we presented it to our top management. They said, we like this. And out of the 3 ideas that were finalized in this process, ours was the one that they decided to work on. And they said, you're out of your jobs. For the next 3 years, this is going to be your full-time mission. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
We focused on this, figured out how to fine-tune it, made it speak the Airbus language, made it resonate and operate within the Airbus infrastructure and systems and processes. And then we became customers of it. So now we're using it in our day-to-day jobs to deliver value for the organization.
Really fascinating. And I just love the fact that A, you guys came together at this challenge, but B, that's part of the culture to really push you as marketers to say, go deeper, right? Try crazier, try more out of the box, try really deconstructing it and thinking about how it's actually going to work. One of my contentions around storytelling, one of my beliefs is that we really have to create spaces for these stories to arise and begin to pull these nuggets out. Because if we stay at the surface of the innovation, or conversely, we get way too technical, we just lose people. Tell us a little bit about how you navigate knowing your audience, getting the message out to the right people. Tell us a little bit about how you do it for listeners who aren't necessarily marketers by nature or communicators by nature. How do you think about it?
I think what we played there, and I don't think if we've done it on purpose, to be honest, but we were looking for money, and we were trying to understand, how do we fund this project, right? Because at the end of the day, without money, you can't deliver anything, right? And we realized that we needed to speak 3 different stories. The first story was for our human resources organization. It's about people, and we're trying to say, this is about people. And you don't have to necessarily spend X amount in training people, because for something that you might use on a one-off project, here you are, you can find the right talents outside the company to do whatever you need to do. And then the second ones were about technology, because there's a lot of ideas that end up being shelved, right? Here's about not shelving those ideas because you don't have enough talent or enough budget to do stuff. This could get you done things very quickly and effectively and cost competitively. And the third one was about digitizing the company. So our digital transformation officer was very interested in saying, well, you can allow us to digitize the way we interact together, right? I mean, this is 7 years ago, so it was less Zoom dependent at the time, but it effectively allowed us to speak languages that they resonated with. And then we sort of fine-tuned and connected the dots together for them to feel that this was a journey that all of them could be part of.
Yeah, and it's all about talking the same language as the people you are trying to get on board to sponsor you or to adopt the innovation. So HR, it's all about how do you attract the best talent in the world? How do you get them to move to France or our home countries where we are located? That was and still is a huge challenge, but the way we have implemented it is actually getting access to all of those talents around the world. You don't have to specifically hire them because some of them, like AI talents, they may not be wanting to work for Airbus, but they can contribute to cool projects that we have at Airbus. And making things fly is very exciting. But would they work for Airbus, in Europe or in the US? Maybe not. Maybe they are based in Australia or they are based somewhere else and they want to stay there close to their family. So how do you get those talent to actually bring value to Airbus and get excited about making things fly? So it's all about finding the right angle for each of your sponsors and each of the community you are trying to get on board and get excited about your idea.
And the irony is that this effectively is no different than what a real marketeer today would be doing. It's the personas exercise, right? You go there and see, okay, who am I speaking to? What language do they speak? What's the digital affinity? What are they interested in? Why are we doing this? And then you build a narrative that works for them. So we didn't know that this was necessary or like the key things that a marketeer would go through today. We just winged it. But we realized that worked because it was getting us results. And yeah, we were, I guess, very fortunate to go through that process and learn from it.
Yeah.
And I think also coming from the business, I mean, at the end of the day, Airbus is an industrial company and is very technical. So and having engineering, so having that background as engineers, also we understood how to speak to engineers, how to speak to the design office, and what was important for them: intellectual property, non-disclosure agreements, and all of those things that needed to be put in place so that the innovation could be used for in that environment as well.
One of the things that my listeners will know me for is thinking about this, how we talk about this, especially when we're looking for what I like to call the 3 R's: the resources, the runway, and the recognition we might want for our big idea, right? That's what we're searching for. I love deploying design thinking techniques and using empathy mapping for my internal audiences. So thinking about the big questions like, what matters to them? Who are they seeing and listening to? And who are they being influenced by? What's happening on the outside with competitors? And then another question is, what's their actual behavior? What's different between what they do and what they say for these people that we want to get funding from? So is there a clear agenda going on, or is there a backstory in this agenda too? Is there an immediate agenda and one that's 3 to 5 years out on my agenda? And then the 2 big questions I really like to ask when I'm pitching internal audiences are, what's the pain and what's the gain if they say yes? So every innovation comes with it a seed of agony, right? Anytime I have to change my behavior from left to right, it's like going to the supermarket and trying to get vanilla ice cream and they're all out and you have to settle for like strawberry or like rum raisin or horrible. So I'm an American mint chocolate chip girl, so don't even get me started on the vanilla. But the agony of getting there and going, oh, is the same feeling of like, wait, you want me to stop using what system and start using this thing? You want me to try this new way of doing things? For a lot of people, that immediate response is actually grief. And you go through these stages of grief, of denial and anger and frustration and sadness of losing mastery over a system that you used to know how to work perfectly. And maybe you even got raises and promotions for doing it the old way. And now we're asking people to change, right? So like there's this whole emotional process that goes with innovation that I think a lot of people skip over. And if we use an empathy map, we can say, what's the pain and what's the gain? What does someone really want to get out of this? If they say yes to this crazy idea, if they fund this crazy idea, maybe they want a raise or a promotion and take credit for my big idea. Okay, fine by me. Or maybe they just want to see profitability or productivity increase or something. But if we don't ask the right questions, then and we're not creating the right persona, even on the inside.
Yeah. And that's what marketing is about. Marketing is about really understanding your customer needs and influencing it. But the need is sometimes you have to dig deep and ask the why question many times before you get to the actual need.
I know. I
And
feel like a
then,
2-year-old, like, why is the sky blue? But why? But why? But why? And that's how you get to truth, though.
yeah. And then I fully agree with you. The potential reward needs to be a lot higher than the risk they are taking by adopting this new tool, way of working, whatever it is. The risk versus reward ratio needs to be high.
And I think one of the things that also we played with is made it less theoretical. Whatever we did at the time, we gave concrete examples and we said, you know what, our top management, we're not going to sell you theory today. We went and tried it out, right? And this is how we got a problem that the company was facing, one of our business units was facing. We pushed out this solution. We spent X amount, and this is the kind of outcome from it. We did a calculation, and this is the value that we ended up bringing for this sum that we spent. And we tried to do the same exercise internally, like just internal parallel project to see what we would be able to do internally. We got nothing out of it. So we went to top management saying, look, we spent this. The value we got was 10 times more. We tried it internally. We got nothing. And we would have still got nothing. But the company needed this solution to move on. And it became tangible to see, like, actually, it's only a win situation for the organization. And we should definitely look into doing this much more.
Fascinating. Yeah. And by not being so theoretical all the time, right? Maybe we come with, I keep thinking of like Google Glass, right? When they were prototyping that, right? It was like a pipe cleaners and a paper clip and showing where the camera would be, right? Just to give people an idea of what that would look like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And which goes back to the storytelling too, right? Is getting too theoretical can be one of the huge drawbacks of bad storytelling, right? We actually have to make it tangible. I always say that our job is to paint a picture of the future that other people can't see yet, but we can. And then how does our listener benefit from that future that we're talking about? Can they see themselves in it? Can they see them walking down that road using that product, being part of it and part of the co-creation of it?
And also, it's how you simplify. Because we, at least at Airbus, we are a very high-tech company. So we have engineers, and I'm an engineer as well, that we are being paid to solve complicated problems. So if you make it seem very simple, all of a sudden people are going to ask, but hey, your job is very simple. Why do I need somebody who is so highly skilled to do that? But it's part of the embarking the people is to simplify the problem. But it's not the thing that you're taught as an engineer. You're taught to solve complex problems. And you're not taught to actually simplify the discourse around it, even though the problem remains complex. So it's really not in the DNA of technology company or high-tech company, because simplifying is almost dumbing down
what our potential.
Yeah. But it's really part of marketing. Like you need to tell simple stories that people understand and are able to follow and project into the future.
I'll give you an example of this actually. Without mentioning the customer, etc., we were looking at building this video, part of the sales campaign towards this customer in Asia. And the owner of this airline comes from humble beginnings. But the team, when I spoke to them, they were trying to say, maybe we say about the efficiency of the plane and how many seats we can fit in. And I was like, honestly speaking, the owner of this airline is a visionary. They built something from nothing. So the language you need to speak to is a language of visionaries, not the language of the product capability. No. It's what the product will help this individual do with their vision, right? How it's going to enable their vision to go further. And this is what we built. It was about a video saying, the country went through this kind of transition and adaptation, and look how incredible the country is today. But in year X, this individual decided to launch and venture on this airline. And this airline today is taking its next horizon and next vision. And this vision is going to be possible only exclusively through the product that we're trying to sell them. Because it's not about the product, it's what the product can do for them. And this resonated so well with this individual that it helped us actually seal the deal.
Wow.
And we really believe it. We actually, when we were writing the script and choosing the imagery and we really believe it. I mean, the guy is incredible. And it's fair for us to say to them, mate, you are incredible. And we want you to do more incredible.
Yeah.
And that really worked.
And it's something that I really have to pound into a lot of my innovators, my innovation clients' heads, right? Is that it is emotion that drives action. It is not an endless litany of product specs or facts or statistics or research, right? It is emotion that actually puts us in motion. And so if we are not tapping that, then we are losing one of the greatest assets that we have. The other part I think is really important in innovation storytelling in particular is creating from that movement momentum. So that client has to be able to walk out of the room and say, you'll never believe what I just heard. I can't wait to tell you. And part of our job now, especially in the world of social media and now AI, is can we create words as part of our pitch that are portable, that are mobile with each user, that it's effortless for them to share. So if we don't pre-plan that into the story, we make it harder for that amazing client to tell his number two, his board, the rest of the management team about the cool thing he just saw exclusively with you.
Yeah.
So we need to pre-plan the story with language that is shareable from the beginning.
And you know what? Talking back about how to bridge between the engineering mindset and culture that we have within the company, we recently did a marketing campaign for the 350F, our latest freighter product, right? You and I will never get to fly one of those. It's designed for boxes and engines, and it's designed for heavy freight, right? Nothing to do with us as human beings or transportation.
As long as I stay away from the ice cream, yes, I will not be considered heavy
It could
freight.
transport the ice cream to you, but it was really, the purpose was very different about this. And then when the product marketing teams gave us the challenge that, look, nobody knows that this product is coming to market, and we want to create a momentum. So we said, oh man, that's a nice challenge. So we decided to go back to segmentation of the audiences. We said, okay, well, they're the av geeks that probably heard about it, but they feel that they don't have a way to interact with it. There are the designers out there that potentially we can kind of speak to, and the customers that are a bit on the hesitant side. We're newbies, or sort of not as heavyweights compared to our competition when it comes to the freighting for that in their eyes. Of course, that's not true. And we decided
not.
Of course. And we built the whole thing about these three audiences. And we said, okay, let's, leveraging, of course, the idea of the startup or the corporate founding business that we pushed for some time ago in the company. We said, why don't we create a challenge and say to people, design what it would look like. We received within 2 months 4,000 different submissions.
Wow.
We leveraged the Airbus brand. Of course, we did some targeting on social media, etc. But we built the narrative, and the look and feel, the design, the advertising that we decided to go for was young, was fresh, was different. And we saw that it generated some of the most successful Airbus campaign in history. We reached 85 million people through this.
Wow. Amazing.
It cost us double-digit figures, nothing bank breaking, but because it was designed, as you said, as a story that relates to those people. And just look it up on YouTube or on social media in general, you're going to see the comments. People were just excited and raving about this thing. But also the engineers were very excited within the company, because they're like, wow, like we get to paint or design something that will get painted on the plane. And it became something that worked with them. It wasn't something that was going to put them off.
And I think this is another part of the story. Sometimes we think that it has to be the head of the division or the CEO who comes down from on high and says, this is the new thing, or this is our, and in reality, what the research shows is that user generated content, i.e. employee generated content, is more powerful than the leaders themselves. When you have this groundswell of people who are saying yes, please, and yes, more, it's more impactful than having a mandate from on high. And it's more trustworthy, it's more credible, and it's more memorable when a coworker sends you something than when your boss sends you something. Isn't that surprising? So that's what the research is showing us about internal communication storytelling and how powerful that is.
Yeah,
100%.
definitely. But then the next question is, how do you create an environment where people don't feel ashamed about coming up with like crazy ideas and going around and saying, I've had this idea, what do you think about it? It's like, so as an individual, you have this responsibility to create that safe environment where people are not afraid to say, like, maybe it's a crazy idea, but they are not afraid to voice it and to say, okay, maybe it's a bad idea, maybe it's the next best thing.
Sliced bread,
yeah, exactly. So we have a responsibility also. We are creative, we are innovators, we are not afraid to propose crazy ideas. So that also creates an environment around us where people are not afraid to come and see us and say, hey, what do you think about this or that or something else? And that's very important.
I think it's about reminding people as well, like Airbus started with a crazy idea. Like Airbus decided, like, let's be completely honest, like we didn't exist 55, 60 years ago, right?
What was the crazy idea?
The crazy idea was to be equal to our competitor, if not better.
Who had already been in business for 100 years, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now we've eaten up a big chunk of the market, and we're equals, if not hopefully
we are better.
Without being arrogant. But we're humble. But it is about that pioneering vision that the company had so many years ago, and not forgetting that at the core of everything we do within this company is about still innovating, still challenging ourselves, still being the underdog, still thinking, that this is not sufficient. We need to do better. And I think that culture, it's, as you said, it's our duty to remind those who didn't maybe experience Airbus 12, 13, 14, 20, 30 years ago, to keep that sort of DNA ingrained so hardly in everything we do, so that we just keep doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
And at the time it was Concorde, flying faster than the speed of sound.
Yeah.
And now it's about zero emission flights. Like how do we get there by 2035? And that's really our ambition. So it is a crazy idea. And we're not sure how we're going to get there, but we are doing everything that we can to get there, to get to our ambition.
I think I have the answer. I think you fill the gas tanks with all the leftover grease from the steak plate and the pommes frites that are left over from the plates of Paris. I think that will do it. I think that will keep them all in the air.
Yeah, well, that's one way of doing sustainable aviation fuel. Yeah, you're right.
And delicious. So let me ask you this. Like, I love this idea around culture, and the research shows us that greatest innovation takes place in places where employees feel safe to fail and try again, right? It's not just, okay, we saw you mess up, you can stay, but you probably won't get another raise or a promotion for the next 5 years. It's where it's welcomed and said, okay, that was interesting. Get back to work, try it again. Right.
Yeah. And yeah, I definitely agreed. And especially in our industry where safety is at the heart and the core of everything we do at Airbus. Safety is, but how do you create an environment where it's fail safe? In the sense that it's okay to fail, but we know it doesn't impact the safety of our product.
Yeah. And I think the startup or the corporate venture that we kicked off was aiming at that. You don't have to go and tank your budget and kill the stock market, right? Because you tried something. You got some money set aside, small cash, try your idea out, right? If it's got potential and you've seen results from it, let's talk about putting some serious cash towards it. No different than what we did when we built this venture in the company. We tried with 50 grand. That's what we had. The 50 grand generated millions at the end of it, right? Worth of IP and development and potential. And they kept throwing more at us. And it's about trying something quickly, before you shelve it and say no to it out of fear and regret, right?
And pivot every time you fail, and we have failed, and we have pivoted and like adapted around our learning, because there is no failure, there's just learning. So how do you pivot, and how you are agile enough to, onboard all of that learning and try again?
Yeah. Well, I think the work that you're doing is just fascinating. So now I'm going to ask you the 3 questions that I ask every guest who comes on the show. Number 1, what is the greatest innovation of all time?
Wow.
Of all time.
Wow. I think the internet for me.
Okay. Well, I'm all about aerospace, so I think rockets to go into space, that's pretty cool.
Rockets it is. Okay. We are also here to dispel the myth of that there is one genius who makes innovation happen. So if you had the chance to join any innovation team in human history, which team would you join?
Oh, that's a nice question. Going back to his rocket, I would love to see that team, how they felt when they managed to get that rocket to land straight within SpaceX. That feeling
SpaceX
must have
team.
been
Bringing it
in
back.
that same spot with I think it was half a meter precision or something like that. That must have felt incredible.
That's 1.5 feet for my American audiences who are trying to figure this out now. Yes. And lastly, what is something that really annoys you, or something that you really wish would exist in the world that has not been invented or innovated yet?
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
Teleportation?
Oh yeah, that would definitely put Airbus out of business, but that would be definitely the
Maybe
greatest.
if we invent it.
That's true. It could be an Airbus teleportation tool.
Yeah, so it's Horizon 3 or 4, right?
Fantastic. I'll expect plans on my desk by next week. Thank you very much. Mina and Flo, if people want to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Feel free to reach out on LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn is the best.
More than I read my messages, so I'm happy to hop on a call and discuss further if needs be.
Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. This was so much fun.
Thanks for having us.
Susan.